Hi and welcome to my channel. Now in this video I'm going to show you how I replaced a bulb, a blown bulb in this NAD 7020 receiver. Now I've done a few other little bits and pieces on this receiver on the channel. You may want to check them videos out. I had a few different problems. They are on the channel, like I say, to have a look at. But in this video here I'm just going to show you how I replaced the bulb. Now to get to the bulb, first of all, it could be a couple of reasons the bulb is not working. The main reason for this receiver, it's quite old, it's about 30-40 years old, something like that. So the bulb's probably blown, but it could be a blown fuse that's supplying the bulb, or it actually could be the transformer itself got an open circuit on the little part that's connecting the bulb up. But then that's going to be pretty rare, I would have thought, but it can happen. Anyway, what I've done, I've took the lid off, and that's just 2 screws either side and 3 at the back. You're going to easily find them. So once you took the lid off, you're going to be presented with this. Now also just remember, once taking it off, make sure it's like mine. As you can see there, the plugs at the back, it's unplugged, it's all unplugged. You're not going to electrocute yourself. Just be a little bit careful when you're doing this, especially because that bulb is actually not far away from the actual main switch as well, so it's quite close to the main switch, that bulb. So be a little bit careful here. You may want to keep it unplugged for a while. Make sure you don't get any shocks off of it, etc. Just be very, very careful when opening the stuff up like this if you're not too familiarised with the different components inside. Anyway, we're going to undo these 2 screws at the top to take this front panel off to access the bulb. We're going to flick it over and undo these 3 screws at the bottom. Once we've undone those, we'll slick it back up on so it's facing us, top way up, the right way up, should I say. And we're going to have to undo these 3 knobs here. There's a volume control at the bottom, there's the balance control at the bottom as indicated, and the top one is the tuning knob. Just pull them, they could be on there a bit tight, but just give them a good pull and they will eventually slide off. They're the only 3 knobs you have to take off, and that front panel will come off. Once it's come off, you're going to see the bulb. I've gone in quite close there. There's another angle there of the bulb, and if we take a closer look, you can see it's quite dark, and the reason for that is that it's probably blown. So we're going to have to push that bulb. We're going to have to get the bulb out, so we're going to have to push it through the little grommet. Now it could be stuck in there, so it may have a little bit of glue. You may have to get some kind of glue remover or something like that, but they're not usually in there that tight. I mean, this just a firm push and it pushed through. But depending on your unit, it could be slightly different. But just a little bit of wiggle around with a bulb, something like that, and it should loosen the glue. The glue's been in there quite a long time and becomes quite brittle after that length of time. Now, once I've got it out, I've stuck on this bit of cardboard, this grey cardboard, so you can see the wires and the bulb a bit more clearer rather than just having it dangling in the unit. And as you can see, I've cut the wires off the bulb as near to the bulb as possible, because we want to make sure we've got enough length on the wire to put our new bulb. As it happens, there's another angle of the bulb there. As it happens, these wires were a little bit too long. As you can see, the top one was a good few inches, probably 6 inches longer than the bottom one. So I cut them to size so they're both the same length. Just makes it a bit tidier and a bit easier. Now the next thing I wanted to do, because there's no information, sometimes around these bulbs you can zoom in with, you can get a magnifying glass, should I say, under a bright light, pair of glasses or something like that. You can see some markings on the bulb, maybe telling you what voltage and what ampage, it'd be milliamps, the bulb is, or it may be actually some information in the service manual for that particular unit, your particular unit and this particular unit. But I couldn't find any information, so what I had to do here is actually do some measurements of the bulb. Now I just want to have a little look at the bulb actually in the diagram here. This is the circuit diagram for this receiver, and the red arrow now is pointing to the bulb. It's coming off that transformer there. No voltages on that transformer indicated, but it's coming off the transformer via one diode, which is a little bit unusual, really. Usually these are just AC bulbs and no diode or anything like that, just straight off the transformer, but it's got a little diode in there. So rather than being AC, this bulb will be DC. Now, what I'm going to show you here is actually if you put your meter, which I did here on my meter, across them 2 wires, turn the unit on, put it on the AC voltage range. As you can see here, it's on 200 volt range. It's reading 12.7 volts. Now, if I didn't look at the diagram, and normally I'd put it on AC straight away, because most of these bulbs are AC, it would read 12.7 volts. So without looking at the diagram, I'll be running out, ordering myself a 12.7 volt bulb, and alas, it would be the wrong one, because it'd be running about half the brightness that it should be, because in fact, because of that diode, and this is DC, If we flick it over to DC now, my multimeter, as you can see, this is a digital multimeter. It may be a little bit different on an AC one, on an analog one. I'm not too sure actually. Should have done that. But anyway, on this DC range now, at 20 volts, as you can see, the range is set at 20 volts. It's reading 5.96 volts. So in other words, it's a 6-volt bulb. Now, I think this is something to do with, I've been told, I don't know exactly, that some of these meters, or these meters actually convert the AC volts using a diode inside the meter itself, and that kind of gives a false reading if the bulb is actually DC. So if it's actually DC, it thinks it's AC and gives an AC reading, or something like that anyway. Maybe someone want to clarify that in the description or something like that. So anyway, the bulb I'm looking for is a 6-volt bulb and not a 12-volt bulb if I didn't check that diagram first. Okay, so I've determined I require a 6-volt bulb, and as you can see, the old one there is on the right and the new one on the left. Now, I looked around on eBay for the old one, something very, very similar, and at the time of looking, I couldn't find one, but I think there are a few about here and there on eBay anyway that can be found, but they're about £4 or £5 each here in the UK. But I was in no rush for this, and I see some Chinese person was selling some on eBay. That new one is the same diameter, but not quite the same length, as you can see, and he was doing a pack of 10 for about £3. So I thought, I'm in no rush, I might as well get some, and I'm going to have a few spare as well, and just give me another option here. It's maybe not fitting the exact bulb, just saying, fitting a slightly different bulb, and how you could get around if you run into any problems. But as it happens, I didn't really run into any problems, but I thought it'd just give me something a little bit different to do as well. Maybe just, you may not be able to get exactly the same one. So there it is, and as you can see, rather than 2 wires coming off of it with some sleeving on it, it's got no sleeving. The 2 wires, 2 thin wires coming off of it, but no sleeving. Now, if you remember, I did cut that wire, and there's the wire I cut off. That was a bit too long. They may have just a normal piece of wire. You may want to put a little bit of tape. It's going to be a bit fiddly, or you may just want to leave it as it is, but I didn't want them 2 wires shorting out. Now, they shouldn't short out anyway, but just in case, I just thought I'd tidy it up just a little bit more. So what I've done is cut 2 ends off of that bit of wire that I cut off earlier. That bit of wire that was a bit too long on one of the sides of that bulb. So I've got the sleeve in there, 2 bits of sleeve in there, you can see dead centre. And what I did was I slung them sleeving over the wires of my new bulb, as you can see there. So then I soldered the wire coming from the receiver to it, and put a bit of sleeving around it. This is actually I can't even say it, shrink sleeving. It's a bit of a mouthful to say, that I've managed to put around it there just to tidy it up even more. But you may just want to put some electrician's tape, something like that, just around it. It doesn't have to be as I've got it there. So then I'll turn the unit on, and there you can see a little bit more clearer there, the heat shrink I've got round connecting it, and the bulb all lit up. So now we're going to put it back into the receiver. There it is in the receiver. I've just got it sticking out just enough, I think. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it in and out, turning the receiver on and off, and making sure that it lights up that front panel as it should. So here's another picture here of me doing that, and what I've done there is I've kind of got it in a position, put my hand over it, because it would be gleaming too much that the camera would kind of like concentrate on that bulb, and you won't be able to see the rest of the display, and also dampens it down to give more of an idea how that display is going to look. So I've got it in a position which I was comfortable with, and I thought it illuminated all the display quite evenly. So like I say, you may just want to move it backwards and forwards in that grommet until it illuminates that display quite evenly. Once you've done that, as you can see there, I put a little bit of super glue just to hold it in place. So obviously when I move the receiver, the bulb don't start wiggling about anywhere. So just a little bit of super glue, let that dry, and put it all back together. Well, the front cover here for starters anyway. And as you can see there, it is lit up there with the front cover. And as you can see, a top-down view there, you can see where my black sleeving is of the bulb that I've just replaced, the red arrow showing that. And there it is with the lid on, and back with the controls on the front as well. And there it is lit up. And yeah, it looks quite nice now. It's just about the right brightness. So I'm pretty pleased with how that's all come out, and that's pretty straightforward and easy job to do, really, if you're going to attempt it yourself, and it's the first time you've done it. Like anything else, just give yourself plenty of space. Space is the key with a lot of things. Just give yourself plenty of space and plenty of time. Just be a bit patient, don't rush it, and I think you'll have no problems there in putting a new bulb in your receiver. Okay, so I'd like to say thank you for watching. Until the next video, I'll see you all soon.